Welcome to Freedom Through Fitness, the podcast where we explore how strength, movement, and resilience can transform lives. I'm your host, Megan Batchelor, founder of Focused Personal Training. We're based in Southampton, UK, but sharing stories that inspire everywhere. Each week, I sit down with real people, local voices, and expert guests to uncover the true power of fitness, not as a way to chase perfection, but to reclaim confidence, health, and freedom. Let's get into it. Today's guest took a chance on a brand new sport, on a complete whim. Already in her mid-30s and with 2 young children, she and her husband had never even heard of CrossFit before, but what followed is nothing short of incredible. She would go on to dominate the Masters field year after year and continues to compete at the very highest level today. In this very first episode, I'm honoured to be joined by someone who truly embodies what Freedom Through Fitness is all about, Kelly Friel. Kelly is not only a local legend here in the South, but an international CrossFit powerhouse. And what's just as inspiring as her strength is her story, one of commitment, consistency, and challenging the idea that women should slow down or step back as they get older. We talk about what it really takes to train at the top, how she balances elite performance with everyday life, and why for Kelly, fitness is about what her body can do and not how it looks. Whether you're already in love with training, just getting started, or simply looking for inspiration to reignite that spark, there's so much here for you. So let's dive in.
I've had some friends in the past go, "Oh my God, you're crazy. I can't do that." I'm here today with one of CrossFit's greatest athletes of all time, even though she came into the sport at a later stage than many of the athletes who are involved in it. So I'm really delighted to welcome and thank you for your time, Kelly Friel.
Thank you for inviting me.
So what I'd love to share with the listeners is, first and foremost, take us right back to the beginning for you. Where did your journey begin? And then we'll come right through the most recent times in terms of the titles that you've won and what you're doing right now.
The start for me most probably is when my friend Ben Allen, he opened the doors of CrossFit Southampton. So we were all members of, it was called back then the Hampshire Tennis and Health Club, which is now David Lloyd, I believe. And we were just general gym members back then. My girls went into the creche when they were babies. And he said, "Oh, I'm opening a CrossFit box." His dad lived in America, so he obviously had researched and heard about CrossFit, and he said, "I think you'll be really good at it." And I was like, "I've never heard of it before. What's CrossFit?" Obviously, he didn't call it a gym. He said, "I'm opening a box." And all I could think of was a cardboard box. Anyway, he was like, "Look, I'm opening it with my friend." They were both firemen. So me and my husband were like, "Oh, come on then, let's go down, give it a go." So we went down in just our normal running trainers, and our first WOD was Kelly, which is lovely. A bit of running, some box jumps. And from there, we didn't look back, really. We both sort of fell in love with it and thought, "Oh my God, this is a new challenge." But then little did I know of how many things are involved in CrossFit, like gymnastics, weightlifting. So yeah, I had to learn pretty much all of the gymnastics and a lot of the weightlifting. Even though I'd always been in a gym, it was more your compound movements like your deadlift and squats, but I'd never Olympic weightlifted. So learning the clean, the snatch and everything was brand new to me. So, but it was an exciting journey.
And how soon was it that you first started to be involved in competitive events?
So I started in October 2013, and then there was a competition, I think it was in the January, and it was called the Battle of London. And then when you look back then, some of the athletes that were there was Sam Briggs. I think it was Annie Corrie's daughter there. There was her, but there was quite a few big names that are huge now. And at the time, I didn't know who they were. And that was in London. And I remember rocking up because I've qualified, you did these online qualifiers and rocked up and there's 60 women. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" They were just giving us workouts on the day. So we had no idea what they were. And I was like, I've got a snatch and I've got a clean. And I remember saying to my judge, I was like, "Is it this one rather than the snatch?" And he just looked at me and was like, so that was sort of the first, I guess, taste of competing. And then the Open come around and then I qualified for regionals. Again, another big eye opener.
And just for those who aren't as CrossFit savvy, what is the Open?
Oh, so the Open is basically a world a world competition, if you want to say online. And back in 2013, every week for 5 weeks, we had a workout released on the Friday night or Thursday night, our time. And then we would have until Monday to do that particular workout that they'd announced. So everyone around the world participates. You can register online, so you go into a worldwide leaderboard, and then it's broken down to sort of like worldwide, European, your age group, affiliate box that you're from, and you can see how you rank against the rest of the world. And I think what's really great about it from my own experience is just that because so many people do it, it's just this huge worldwide thing. And what's really great is that because you get like a centile, so you don't just get your position like 220,000, but you get your centile. And so it brings a sense of personal competition to those of us more normal people, like not necessarily the elite level athletes. Everybody can take part and everybody can track their own progress like year on year. And it's a great standardizer and it's a really accessible thing. The movements that they put in there, they'll generally have a mind on making sure that they're movements that everyone can at least have a go at. Is that what CrossFit is to you? Like, how would you describe CrossFit to someone who's not even heard that term before? I generally say it's like functional fitness. So we do your general, like if you want to go back to basics, some cardio, maybe some gymnastics, some weightlifting, some body weight movements, sort of all thrown in together. But the biggest thing that I always try and sort of like promote or say it's scalable to everyone. I've had some friends in the past go, oh my God, you're crazy, I can't do that. Then I would say, no, but you don't have to do that movement. If you were coming to a class, I would then give you this movement to do. So that's what I love about CrossFit is there's something there for everyone. And hopefully for long term, when I'm 60, 70 years old, I'll still be doing a lot of the movements now. Maybe not at the level I'm doing them at, but a sort of a scalable like option that I'll have.
That's something that's quite important to you as an individual, just this concept of like longevity within the sport. I know that sometimes from the outside looking in, again, because people are looking at the extreme when they watch a competition and the levels and intensities that people are working at. For you as an athlete, this is something that you want to be able to continue to do for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So you aren't necessarily putting your body at risk of injury too much, and you have to be smarter about it. And what are the changes that you've noticed having done it 12 years in the way that you have to train, in the way that you have to take care of yourself?
I think you're more body aware. Obviously, your younger side think, oh, okay, I can handle a little bit more volume. So it may be that you dial the volume in. So maybe you're just training a little bit less or the intensity is a little bit less. The weights definitely for me are a little bit lighter, being a sort of in an older age category. So I necessarily don't always think, oh, I've got to be doing a 1 rep max or something like that. And I think it's knowing your body, because especially I think when you're older, if you do suffer with a niggle, it's being aware of that niggle and being sensible and thinking, okay, I don't need to push my body today to do that. One, let's get treatment and make sure that it's nothing serious, and then work around that injury, if there is one, to make sure that it's not going to get worse. Because like you said, for longevity, I want to be doing this when I'm 60, 70 years old. I don't want to do something to my body that I can't do in 5 years' time.
But then going to the flip side of that and what you were talking about before and the importance of understanding scaling and adaptability to everybody. You know, we, as a business sort of obviously are running focused personal training as well. We work quite a lot with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond. And I think sometimes the battle in terms of mindset is persuading somebody that everybody can lift weights. It's not always the really heavy 1 rep maxes or things like that. And I remember having a conversation with my godmother in her 80s and saying like, I think you should try doing press ups, and her almost laughing me out of the room. Yeah. But I said, but everybody in the whole world can do press ups. It's just a version of them that's right for you. And so I think, showing people how everything can be scaled and that everything can be accessible to everyone. And then you can start rebuilding that foundation, whether it's doing a press up against the wall or doing a press up on your floor, then, that accessibility with fitness and CrossFit is so important.
As you're listening, you might be feeling that spark, feeling inspired to explore how fitness could become a part of your own life, to enable you to live with more energy, freedom and choice. If that's you, I'd love to invite you to visit freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk, where you can book a free discovery call with the Focused PT team of experts and find out what working together could look like. No pressure, just a real conversation. Now, back to the pod.
So When for you, can you think of a time, I know that you mentioned sort of going into that first competition and realizing all of those like 60 other women, and sort of not necessarily being as sure of yourself. Would you say that that was when you felt most challenged by the experience of sport, like when you were first at the beginning, or have there been any ups and downs along the way?
I think at the beginning, because I didn't sort of really know sort of how big CrossFit was type thing here in the US, definitely, I guess I didn't really have any expectations. I think as the years went on, then I understood it a little bit more, and sort of like, the pressure then becomes, your name becomes a group of UK athletes, and then people are looking out for you. Oh, where's this person? I think it just becomes more challenging because you're always looking at being a better self than you are. Maybe I think when I went to regionals, which again, just for the people that don't know CrossFit, regionals is once you've made the open in the worldwide leaderboard, they break it down into regions, and like we formed at the time like Europe, and they break Europe up into two, and we went to Berlin for hours, and I think it was the top 30. I'm not quite sure because they kept changing the numbers, but I think it was top 30 in Europe that went, and that was the year that my focus was making it to the games as a master athlete, and I actually qualified not just for the masters, but as an individual to go to regionals. And I think then I sort of was like, oh, shall I go to both? And everyone was like, well, why not? Because you've achieved both. Why don't you just go and see how you compare against the young people? And I guess then I was like, oh yeah, but I am quite a bit older than, some of them are in their 20s and I'm 45, or I was back then. So it was a bit like, oh, what do I do? And so I was at 45, I was in the 40 category then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do I do? And I think then, you sort of overthink it. And then I thought, no, come on, let's just give it a go. What have you got to lose? And I went and I had one of the best times. It was so much fun. And then you learn a bit about yourself then and go, oh, okay, so that didn't go quite well. I'll use that for my next competition. So you're always sort of like just trying to improve. So in a way, it's kind of like ignorance is bliss. Helps you. Yeah, it's a start because you weren't necessarily having that imposter syndrome, that comparison, because you didn't necessarily realize the size of the thing you were going into, or even maybe the potential that you had. I think if you knew the potential that you had going in, maybe that would have laid on your mind a lot more. Going back to like you, it's just like as an individual getting into fitness. You mentioned that you used in the gym quite a bit before you got involved with CrossFit. Is that something you've always done? Have you always been sporty? Yeah. So I guess going all the way back to childhood, school and stuff like that, I always loved sport, whether it was like swimming. My gran used to take me swimming. I went to the Dell for football with, my gran took me and my uncle. And then at school, I was like always involved in like the athletics team, the hockey team. When I then moved to seniors, it wasn't so much, but I would still be a bit involved. I learnt to windsurf when I was at my junior school. We got picked by the Royal Yachting Association to star in a video. So there is a video of little Kelly out there, and that was fun. So I think I've always been really sporty. My brothers and my dad always loved football. So that was like their thing. So I guess my sport never like progressed, but I was always like in the gym or then before I had children, a few friends were running some marathons. So they were like, do you want to run? And I was like, yeah, why not? So we did the Dublin Marathon twice. And then in the gym, they used to have this thing called cross training, which is like you set up 10 pieces of equipment, very similar to what High Rocks is now type thing. And it was set disciplines and set reps. So you'd run down the course as quickly as you can, and it would be like the champion at the end type thing. So we used to do that in a few gyms. That was literally before I got into CrossFit, but it wasn't anything like High Rocks or CrossFit. What's really nice that you can hear like as a recurring theme through what you said is that you just kind of take opportunities as they come, whether that's running the marathon, just like, yeah, why not give it a go? And you also mentioned that you have brothers. Do you think being around boys also like had an influence on how involved in sport you were? I think so, yeah. And I think because we're all quite determined, we're like, okay, let's give that a go. Well, if they can do that, I think I can do that. And then, yeah, so then we ran the marathon. And again, that was the same. Shall we give it a go? Let's run it. And then we ran the second time in Dublin. And that was after I had it was Erin, but she was a little bit older, I think. But I ran the London when they were like 5 months old. So that wasn't ideal. But it was just because I had a guaranteed place because I deferred it from the year before and I didn't want to lose it. So I was like, oh, well, I've got to do it. It wasn't the best experience, let's just say that. But I got through it.
There's that element of marathon, isn't it? It's almost more of a test of your mental resilience than physical. Like, obviously, you need to be able to physically complete it, but it's, when the going gets tough, do you keep plodding on? What I was going to ask you about is the stages as a woman. Okay, so sometimes the conversations I'll often have with women looking to get back into fitness is that it's almost like there's 3 big milestones in terms of a woman's relationship with sports. There's adolescence, when a huge proportion of girls who may have been sporty right up to adolescence then drop out as their bodies change, as their periods start, as they become more conscious of sort of social expectations and things like that. It kind of sounds like you blazed through that to an extent. I know you said you sort of dropped off a little bit, but because you had that underpinning of an enjoyment of sport, it carried it through. And then the next big milestone is when you have children and your body changes again.
Yeah.
And sort of you getting straight back into it, perhaps not having the greatest experience during the marathon. And then, you developing and becoming an elite level athlete after having had your 2 children. And then, for a lot of women, then it's about then looking ahead to understanding how their hormones are then going to change again, whether it's perimenopausally, and trying to then take care and protect their future, as you've talked about, in longevity when you are in your 60s and beyond. Like, is that something that you have seen as a trainer and things like that within the gym setting and within the CrossFit community? Are you seeing more women get involved?
Yeah, I think recently, over the past few years, definitely, that it seems to be people in their 30s, 40s, let's just say. If you went back maybe 10 years ago, you would have seen less. But now I think because of publicity and things like that, with how important it is for women to lift weight, then I think more women are thinking, oh, do you know what? Maybe I can do that and maybe I can get involved. And like we said, it's scalable. So we don't expect everyone to come in and deadlift 50 kilos. They might just be lifting an empty barbell or 25 kilos, but they're moving. And I think definitely I've seen a lot bigger age group of between that sort of 30, 40, if not older, join in because they're seeing how important it is and the science behind it and stuff like that.
I think there's always going to be that underlying message, certainly in my mind, because I feel I was brought up on women being told you must be smaller and do more cardio. Yeah, it's all exercises about being smaller and fitting into a smaller box. For me, going through a powerlifting journey myself, so being all about strength training and what your body can do rather than how your body looks, is such an important message for women. Obviously, it's important for men to be strong as well, but it feels like a message that's always been there for men to lift. And so how do you see that? I mean, in terms of your daughters and like their involvement in sport as well? You've obviously been an example to them in what you've done.
Yeah.
How do you see their relationship developing with sport as well?
That's quite an interesting thing because you say about like not necessarily children, but women looking like a certain shape, we should be skinnier rather than stronger type thing. And I guess when I look back to my school age, it was about who can look skinny, who can look in that shape rather than who's maybe got a bit of muscle and who can perform in a certain way. Nothing when I was at school was there any talks about weightlifting. Like I said, I'd never really heard about clean and jerk or snatch until I started CrossFit, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what this is. And I think definitely my girls obviously have been at a gym and at the CrossFit box pretty much most of their life. So I think for them, and I was speaking to Erin the other day, and she was saying, well, to me, Mum, it's the norm of what I see, as when I go sometimes to a Globo gym and I see the girls that want to be a certain shape, skinny, and like what they're doing and stuff like that, they look at things in a different way to maybe how she does.
Yeah.
But I think for them and what they can see now on social media with strong is great rather than just being skinny is great and being healthy, it then puts a different mindset on them. And I'd hope in the future things for like eating disorder and stuff like that will help people understand that you don't need to be all in this one box. We can all be different because by being strong is just going to help us in the long term.
If you're listening to this and thinking, that's all well and good for them, but I feel miles away from that version of fitness, you're not alone. We know how hard it can be to feel stuck, unsure where to start, or wondering whether it's even possible for you. The Focused PT team are here to meet you where you are. No judgment, no pressure. Just a conversation about where you're at, where you want to go, and how we can help you finally break through what's held you back. Because this isn't about somebody else's ideal, it's about your version of freedom through fitness. To book your free discovery call, just head to freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk. You're just a few clicks away from taking the first step towards more confidence, energy, and freedom. Now, back to the conversation.
And I definitely think it has a different mental effect for them sometimes as well, wanting to go to the gym. You know, it could be a social aspect rather than, oh, I definitely need to go to the gym because I need to burn 1,000 calories. It's like, oh, actually, I'm going to go to the gym with my friend and we're going to do a little workout, have a bit of fun, and then come home. So yeah, I think it definitely has helped them understand or look at fitness in a slightly different way, because they've been involved in functional fitness where they can see all shapes and all sizes working out together and having fun.
Yeah, and the sort of the smiles and the high fives. I think that's, that whole image is definitely something that CrossFit puts out into the ether. The camaraderie that comes from it as well, and the fact that, leaning into this game and like we're all doing this together, but we're all doing our own version of it. What's next for you? Like, where are you at now in terms of your own like journey with fitness? Do you have big events coming up?
So I've actually got the French throwdown. I thought I'd give that another bash this year. So I think I last did it when I was in the 40 to 44 category. So now I'm in the 45 to 49 category. So I just thought, I wasn't too sure if I was going to do the games this year. And I thought I'll do the French throwdown because that's in May. And so I fly out in 2 weeks' time. I think there's 10 of us in our category. It's 10 or 15. Again, they keep changing the numbers. We had to do some like qualifiers online. So I qualified for that. So I go out and we've got 3 days of competing there. Apparently they announced the workouts today. So I can have a little nosy and maybe have a little practice. And then I just recently qualified, which I had my invite today, to the CrossFit Games for my 7th year.
It just sounds like you found something that really clicked and that has been a community that you feel like a part of. And the fact that you've been at that top level for 7 years is like amazing stuff, because life happens as well. Yeah, 100. Yes. And you're raising 2 kids, you're managing work and all of these other things, which is obviously a lot of the things that other people are facing as well. So if I kind of round it off and we'll talk a little bit about, what this podcast is called. So it's called Freedom Through Fitness. And in particular, when I'm speaking to athletes on it, it's really interesting to hear your perspective about what fitness has done for you. And you've got 2 angles. You've got your own journey as an athlete, but also as a professional coach and what you see fitness doing for other people. So what kind of freedom do you think fitness gives people? And what does that term freedom through fitness mean for you?
So for me, I would say I've met some fantastic friends across the world. CrossFit has opened a big door for me. I've now got friends in America, Australia, and, we all reconnect at some point over the years. And if it wasn't for CrossFit, I wouldn't have met these people. From a coach side of things, I think just seeing people walk, through our door, and it changes their life in the person that they are. So some people might come in with, they're struggling with mental health or something like that, because they're at home by themselves and may not have many friends or family that they've built up. And then walking into the box, that just opens the door then for them connecting, speaking to people every day, and just having that hour for they can just offload, have fun, like you say, high five, go away knowing that they've connected with people. I think that's quite a nice thing from a coaching point of view. And also, I've had it so many times where people have walked through the door and gone, I'm never going to be able to do a put up. I'm never going to be able to handstand more. And then to see that they achieve that, it could be 6 months, could be a year down the line. And to see that sort of self-achievement that they've achieved themselves by just putting in the hard work puts a smile on my face, because that's what we're there for, to help coach, bring them along on our journey, pass across information that I've learned definitely within CrossFit. And that, like I said, just brings a smile to my face as a coach.
It always feels like a really cliche statement to like be your best self. But I think fitness isn't about changing a person. it's about unraveling like their best self.
Yes.
And like when you talk about people, walking into gym, perhaps they're having mental health issues, more and more people becoming isolated because more and more of our lives are online.
Yeah.
And yet this is something you have to be in a place to do this with people. It helps to just pull back the layers a little bit and helps to empower people and to bring their best self up to the surface again.
Yeah.
And the freedom that then gives you, because that has those little tendrils that fills out into the rest of their lives, whether it's professionally, they feel more confident to present in a meeting, or socially, they're going to go out on a date because they feel fantastic in their frock or whatever it is. I definitely see that as one of the biggest parts of fitness.
And also like when people, when the ladies have come back after pregnancy and they're like, okay, I've got to get back to where I am, and just seeing how well that they slot back in to parenthood as well as getting back their fitness journey, that then gives them the boost of confidence as well.
Definitely. And a sense of identity. Because when you become a parent, it's all encompassing, and you give you're so-and-so's mum. Yes, that's who you are. Yeah. And yet when you step into that fitness ring, I mean, your name is known worldwide. You're Kelly Friel. You're like not Erin's mum or Eddie's mum. That's who you are. And so it gives you the opportunity for a bit of a break, a mental break from the responsibilities of life, and you just kind of let loose a bit and have a good workout. Thank you so much for your time, Kelly. I appreciate it. And I know that your story will be really inspirational for people that are listening. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Freedom Through Fitness. I hope you're leaving this conversation feeling inspired, encouraged, and maybe just a little more connected with the version of yourself that you're working toward. One that moves with confidence, lives with more energy, and chooses strength on your own terms. If you're ready to take that next step, don't forget, the Focused PT team is here to support you. You can book a free discovery call right now at freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk. No pressure, just a real conversation about what your freedom through fitness could look like. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Tag us at Focused PT UK or leave a quick review. It helps us reach more people and keep these powerful conversations going. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Meg Batchelor, and I'll see you next time.